My dear students, I am Sunil Ranjan and I am an English teacher. In this session, I am going to deal with metaphysical poetry, which is prescribed in English Honours Syllabus first year in many universities. Now, metaphysical poetry refers to the work of 17th century poets who were part of a school of poets using similar methods and who revolted against the romantic conventionalism of Elizabethan love poetry. Metaphysical poetry is a term applied to poetry that is highly intellectual and philosophical, that makes extensive use of ingenious conceit, and that usually combines intense emotion with mental ingenuity. The word meta means beyond, and physics means science of concrete things. So metaphysics means a subject that deals with things which do not have definite shape. The diction is simple and echoes the words and cadences of common speech. The imagery is drawn from the actual life. The form is frequently that of an argument with the poet's beloved, with God, or with himself. The term metaphysical was given by John Dryden, the outstanding writer during the Restoration, who thought that John Donne affects the metaphysics in both his love lyrics and cynical poems. Later, the term was adopted by Samuel Johnson in Lives of Poets. He thought that Donne's lyrics were not describing the natural feeling, but were only a game of showing off his knowledge, and that in Donne's poems, the most heterogeneous ideas were yoked by violence. Samuel Johnson was the first person who used the term metaphysical poetry. Now, the characteristics of metaphysical poetry. The first characteristic of metaphysical poetry is: number 1, the abrupt beginning. Number 2, the colloquial language. Number 3, the use of conceits. Number 4, the dramatic effect. And number 5, argumentative in nature. John Donne. Now, his period was between 1572 and 1631. He was a Jacobean poet and satirist. He is considered the founding figure of the so-called metaphysical poetry movement. He is regarded as the leading poet of this highly intellectual form of poetry. He was influenced by the belief that the precision of beauty in the adored, means the loved one, behaved as a commemoration of the ideal beauty in the everlasting kingdom, that is heaven. He also used unconventional and colloquial rhythm and tone, which ran in sharp contrast to the style of Elizabethan poetry. The second was George Herbert, and his period was 1593 to 1633. He was a Welsh poet, orator, and Anglican priest. George Herbert excelled in languages and music. Herbert served in Parliament for 2 years as public orator and poet. The third in the list is Andrew Marvell. His period was 1621 to 1678. He was an English metaphysical poet, parliamentarian, and the son of a Church of England clergyman. And as a metaphysical poet, he is associated with John Donne and George Herbert. The next one on the list is Thomas Carlyle, and his period was 1595 to 1640. He was in the Cavalier group of Caroline poets during Charles I, 1625 to 1649, whose inspiration was entirely secular. And the last on the list is Richard Crashaw, and his period was 1613 to 1649. He was an English poet and he was part of the 17th century metaphysical school of poets. He was one of the central figures associated with the metaphysical poets in the 17th century. So, my dear students, this is the end of metaphysical poetry, and I hope you understood what I said. Subscribe to my channel and you'll be getting more on English literature. Thank you.